That's a great question, and I always answer it. It's public perception and public perception. Let's face it, the engineers in my day, when we came out of school, they put us in a cubicle. We didn't know how to talk to anybody, right? I always think back in that time, we just weren't good at communications, and quite frankly, we let an anti-nuclear movement speak especially after 3 Mile Island. And there's lots of falsehoods out there with nuclear energy. Yeah, so I think public perception is something we really have to work on and change. And I give you this as an example. And one of the worst nuclear incidents around the world, we're still debating whether one person was fatally injured or not. And yet, we'll tolerate a weather event in Texas that was caused by intermittent resources failing during a cold weather event, as well as the backup supply, and it killed about 180 people. But that's kind of okay, but nuclear is not, right? So it's imperative that we have to change that. And I think with that is the opportunity. If we change that, we have a robust future in front of us of clean energy. Our power density alone from a plant, like I said, in 3,000 acres, we'll have a roughly 7,000 megawatts. That's millions of homes of power, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. I just read about a new solar utility scale solar farm in Alberta on 3,000 acres, right? So it's going to power 250,000 homes. Why is that? Well, it only works when the sun's out, if the sun's out, right? So that power density, if we're going to power economies, we're going to need baseload energy, and we're going to need the intermittent sources as well during the daylight hours, right? So it's that combination that gets us forward, and that's really our opportunity. The discussion always comes back to waste. People like to say that. They throw that up, waste is an issue. I look at it differently. We're the only industry likely in the world that captures all of its waste. Most other industries get a free pass. They get to emit whatever their waste products are to the environment and let other people deal with them. We don't have that. We have 50 years of operation at our site. All that waste is contained in an area less than the size of a football field, and it's held in canisters. And our fuel, actually someday we'll think about recycling it when it becomes the right time to do that. It's cheaper right now just to store it. When I worked for Areva, we had a recycling facility in France. We typically recycled all the fuel for France. We had contracts with Germany, Japan, and the UK for recycling. So at the end of the day, if with that recycling, if you got all of your electricity from nuclear power for your entire lifetime, the waste footprint that you would leave would be the size of a pop can. And the remnants of it are stored in a vitrified process, basically in glass. One of the oldest known substances to man is glass from lightning strikes, right? They found glass that's 3 million years old and not degraded. Well, that vitrification process, we were able to look at some of the calculations at that time, and my colleagues would tell me, yeah, we have real good confidence that 10,000 years there would be no degradation. And they would look at me and they go, we think it would last 100,000 years, but we've got no way to prove that. So the issue becomes is the anti-nuclear organizations have seized on fear. They said, oh my gosh, something might happen in the future. But it's okay to hurt people today through the emissions or cause climate change and cause other things, but that fear factor of something might happen in the future has been used really to stymie. And I think in this generation, and I look at all the young folks that are coming to work at Bruce Power, like we had 30,000 applications for about 1,000 open positions the last couple of years. They're mostly identifying with the environmental aspects. They see the future, they want a clean future, and they want to be part of something that's meaningful. And I think nuclear power provides that pathway. So, next question. There is a nuclear reactor there. It's a research reactor. But quite frankly, years ago, I don't know why Saskatchewan didn't build a reactor. I think it's likely because of the population and the size of these reactors. So our reactors are like 800 to 900 megawatts. And when you look at the scale of the amount of power that puts out, it was typically being sited in population centers. So we had one here, there's one in Quebec, there's one on the coast in New Brunswick. As the population of Saskatchewan has increased, there is some interest right now in Saskatchewan around small modular reactors. In fact, there's a memorandum of understanding between the provinces, between Ontario, New Brunswick, Saskatchewan, and Alberta on the advancement of small modular reactors. And I was there this spring when they announced the completion of that study. And I know Sask Power is also working with Ontario Power Generation on the consideration of expansion through small modular reactors. But yeah, that's a great question. And I do believe as we go forward, these are the types of opportunities that'll be in front of us for economic development and for job creation. And what I would tell you, like if you buy a reactor made here in Canada, that economic development and that value stream stays in Canada. When you buy a wind turbine or a solar panel, most of the value of that investment is going somewhere else, most likely China, where they have a majority of the manufacturing cornered for both of those technology types.
That's
For one, I think here in Canada, it's been a stalwart for a long time, a workhorse of the industry. Like we've made a lot of clean energy over the years, and as you continue to see the economy transitioning, I think it's going to be a major part of many provinces, including partnering with the oil and gas industry. I think some of these newer reactor designs make high temperature steam. Today, in the oil sands, they're burning natural gas to make that high temperature steam for oil extraction. Longer term, using different technologies for that may be prudent. Also, that intense steam can be used in refineries and other production facilities. There is a lot of work going on right now throughout the world. In fact, I was just on the phone today with the head of the Nuclear Energy Institute in the United States, where they surveyed all the utilities, and they're talking about 90 gigawatts of new nuclear being added into the U.S. footprint. That 90 gigawatts just keeps the present production capacity at 20%, right? Because of the expansion of energy needs. So there's going to be lots of room for advancement. The other thing I will tell you that nuclear really helps you with as a development tool, we spend a lot of time on leadership. So our development programs are also on soft skills as well as technical skills. So we have a great rotation program that teaches people how the plant works. We have had people from our human resources organization that don't have technical degrees go take our operations classes so that they understand and can work in different roles. And the same thing, we have our engineers who know the hard skills and the technical, they go to leadership courses, right? So I think in this vein, it's a good entry to develop yourself for a long-term career, and it leads to many places. Like I've had colleagues go off into different industries, everywhere from banking and finance to the oil and gas industry to the auto industry. But it's those types of leadership attributes that you get, that we train on each and every day to help our workforce become more knowledgeable and advanced, because we like to say we have to operate to a level of excellence every day. So 250, here's an easy way to think of it. 250 megawatts powers 250,000 homes. right? So it's an easy sensitivity. And when you do it with nuclear, you're powering that 250,000 homes 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Like we have our plants are routinely running now 600, 700 days continuously. Ontario Power Generation just had a unit set a world record. It was close to 1,100 continuous days of operation. Like it's just phenomenal. They just start up and they run effectively for a year or two, right, before they come back offline again. And that means that power can be counted on. It doesn't matter what the weather is per se, right? And you can build a community around that, and you can feel secure because you have stable energy. And when we buy uranium from Canada, right, we have pretty much locked in that value stream. So we're not worried about whether a dollar is strong or weak or anything else like that. We're paying in Canadian dollars. So it really does help spur our economy on, and we have a stability of price. Let's talk about that. So there's different reactor types around the world. So we have a CANDU reactor here in Canada where we start and use natural uranium. So we're not dependent on that enrichment process. We do everything right here in Canada. And in fact, Cameco, they mine the ore, they do the processing of it, they make the fuel in Port Hope, Ontario, and then they hold 6 months supply of it for us, and then we take it from them when we use it. So we're in a different situation where other countries use light water reactors, and that light water reactor requires about a 4% enrichment. So there are enrichment facilities in the United States, in Japan, in China, in France, in other locations. But what you've seen though over the years is Russia, I think, recognized that energy was important. So not only did they get heavily involved in oil and gas, they moved into nuclear. You see China doing the same thing. So China is heavy into nuclear now and building nuclear infrastructure. Russia does the same thing. When I worked for Areva in France, we obviously the French have 58 operating reactors. It's like 75% of their electricity comes from nuclear power. Effectively, we competed on the world stage as a company, but what you saw coming, it was the state. You were actually competing against the Russian state or the Chinese state when you were going head to head for advancement. And what we saw happening was they were coming into countries and setting up the whole program. So really that country then becomes energy dependent on them, if it makes sense, for fuel, for et cetera. So we still have the capability to do that. We have lots of uranium. We have processing capability as well. And I think this would bode well for the industry as this goes forward outside of Russia, to continue to expand and provide open market access to resources. I think it's an opportunity for companies like Cameco, Uranium One, Denison Mining, other ventures to really look to expand. There's tons of uranium ore around the world, and years and years of it. In fact, one of the biggest sources that has gone untapped because it's still expensive to get at is the ocean. There's natural uranium in the ocean because it's been dissolved over the years. So the processing of seawater is really quite a resource. But it's expensive today because of the technology, but smart people like you will figure out how to make that even more cost effective over time, right? So I'm very bullish about that. I don't think that's an issue. It may be in the near term, but it's not a long-term issue. But that's where policy comes into place, right? So government policy has to be an enabler that would say, policy makes it stable and reduces the uncertainty in making these big capital investments. So that's what we have here in Ontario. We have a great stable energy policy that allows a company like mine to invest $13 billion into renewing our assets. So it gives us a view all the way out to 2064. So with that type of certainty, you can make the investments, and it works, and it's financially stable, and it's, you know, it's great for the economy and great for people. Great questions. I like the people. I just think they're fantastic. Like, I think we have some of the best people in the world working at Bruce Power. Like, I just talked about going through the pandemic. Like, we actually improved performance through the pandemic. We put more power out. Our plants run at higher capacity factors, and we made medical isotopes for the world. Like, our folks are just amazing what they've been able to accomplish. And I think you find people like that in the industry. It's one, I think, the challenge, but it's also the camaraderie, the sharing with other companies, the ability to learn and to take what you're learning and apply it to make things better. And I say make things better, it's either the facility operating better, that's improving the environment. We have people doing climate change studies on the Great Lakes. We have people, you know, doing fish hatchery studies. We're always looking at things around us, so very environmentally conscious. You know, our vision is that we'll power the future, and our mission statement is to safely provide clean, reliable, affordable electricity, life-saving medical isotopes to strengthen our communities, protect the environment, secure tomorrow. And I think that mission statement really reflects our people. And you'll see us involved in community events, you know, doing all kinds of things. And that part really, I really enjoy about our industry. It's like we're an active community citizen, and we do things. We just don't talk about them. That's one thing I insist on. Like, there's so much rhetoric out there, and you talk. And I always tell our folks, like, I said, look, if we're going to say it, we're going to do it, and we go about getting it done. And then the last part about the nuclear industry, I just think it's a great place to learn. It's a great career. And you can do lots of things, both inside the industry and also with the skill sets that you learn. If you decide the industry is not for you and you want to do something different, I just think it's a great platform to develop, and especially as a young person that's, you know, seeking a career and seeking what to do with their lives in the long term. And I would never regret it. I actually left nuclear for a period of time, and I was at American Electric Power in their corporate offices, and was involved in all kinds of things. But that training and that background, you know, I was able to take all that and learn, you know, gas plants, coal plants, hydro plants. We built some of the first wind farms. You know, learned how to lead and how to do lots of different things. It's just opened up you know, really a solid and a long career. Shoot me an email and put them on a list. Shoot me an email and get an answer back.
Perfect. That sounds great. And in addition, we also have a lot of our fun I Heart Canadian Nuclear. If you want any, we have like shirts and hoodies and stickers and everything, and we would be more than happy to send you some if anyone on your side would like some.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sounds great.
We'll have
Awesome.
to give you, we'll have to get you some socks out there. I don't have them on today. I got them for tomorrow morning's. We have a big event tomorrow morning, but we have isotope socks. So it has the periodic table for lutetium and cobalt, and we'll ship some of those out to you. So you send me some stickers, and I'll send you some socks.
You have a deal. We'll definitely take you up on that. That is awesome. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we really appreciate your knowledge and expertise. And yeah, we'll be in touch.
Sounds good. And I look forward to it. And again, thanks so much for having me today. I enjoyed it a lot. I hope you got a lot of information out of it that was useful.
It was really super. And for anyone that's still here or watching the recording, our word of the day is isotopes. So please send that in.